Hello and welcome to another episode of Let's Celebrate, a holiday origins podcast. I'm your host, Rusty Brown, and today we're celebrating Lughnasadh and Lammas. As you can see, I am in a cornfield again because this holiday celebrates the first crop, the first grain harvest of the year. So, last month's episode, we celebrated the summer solstice, also known as midsummer. How did you celebrate? Did you maybe make sure to spend plenty of time outside soaking up the sun? Did you gather with your community for a midsummer event? Did you incorporate any summer solstice magic into your celebrations? I'd love to hear about how you celebrated, and you can email me your celebratory stories at letscelebratepodcast@gmail.com. I also have an Instagram page, and that is also at Let's Celebrate Podcast, and a YouTube channel where I also upload these episodes, and that is youtube.com/at Let's Celebrate Podcast. And just a warning, so of course, as things happen or as things go, I got ready for this episode and it was a beautiful sunshiny day, and as soon as I put my lipstick on, I could hear thunder outside. So it's possible that we're going to have rain and I'm going to have to move to another location. But let's pray to the rain gods that they hold off until we're finished here. Also, there are chickens directly in front of me and a cow over there, so if you hear any of those animals, that is why. I wanted to be, in nature, surrounded by the grain. We've got our, what is his name? Oh, Old John Barleycorn. More about that later. So, if you're new here, this is the podcast. For each episode, I research a specific holiday and discuss the history behind it, how the people before us celebrated it, how it evolved into what we celebrate now. And for this season, since the holidays I will be discussing are the Wheel of the Year holidays, and they're older holidays, they haven't been popularly celebrated in the recent past, I'm going to be talking about how people are now reconnecting to these holidays and how we can incorporate these traditions into our celebrations now. And with this, I'm hoping that everyone can reconnect to these holidays um, so that we can reconnect to the earth. Despite our religious and spiritual backgrounds, I'm hoping that with this reconnection to the earth and its seasons and the changes that goes along with all of the seasons, that we can realize that we have the same changes in our lives and in our bodies, and I don't know, hopefully find healing in the earth and find healing in ourselves. Each episode also includes a CeLibation. That's a themed cocktail with a mocktail option to go with the holidays that you can make at home to celebrate along with me as you listen. The CeLibation for this episode is a honey basil gimlet. And for this CeLibation, you need honey syrup. And for this honey syrup, I blended together 1 cup basil leaves, a half cup of water, and a half cup of honey, and a pinch of sea salt. And then I just strained it, and look how beautiful and green it is. And then, so you're going to use 1 ounce of that honey basil syrup, and 2 ounces of gin, and 1 ounce of lime juice. And then you're just going to shake that with ice and strain and enjoy. For a mocktail, you can replace the gin with sparkling water, and you can have, this honey basil syrup is just chef's kiss. I am probably going to be adding it to some sparkling water later because I really don't need to be drinking a bunch of these. So this year, for the midsummer celebration, I had plans on doing a lot of things and nothing worked out. The morning of the midsummer, on June 21st, I had woke up. I was planning on harvesting some of my herbs and putting them to dry. And I was doing a little cleaning around the house. And then one of my neighbors called, and I had to take her to her daughter's house, which is like an hour and a half away. So that was all unexpected, and I was kind of upset that I was going to have to do that. But at the end of the day, I got to spend most of my day reading a book in a hammock, looking out onto a beautiful scenery of mountains. And about halfway through the day, rain came in, so I got to watch this rainstorm move towards me, which I think is one of the coolest things to watch. And yeah, then later in the evening, I have a group of friends that we meet, and just do self-improvement kind of things. So we decided to meet on midsummer to do meditation and some reconnecting to each other, and it was beautiful and lovely. And yeah, so it ended up being a good day, but it did not go as I had planned it to go. So last year I did do an episode on August's full moon celebrations, focusing mainly on Lughnasadh and Lammas. This year, since I'm focusing on the Wheel of the Year holidays, I'm going to be focusing mainly on Lughnasadh, but Lammas is basically the English or Christian version of Lughnasadh, and Lughnasadh is the Gaelic festival. So, since they both celebrate the harvest of the first fruits of the season, they're pretty similar holidays, and many of the articles I read kind of both use both of the terms interchangeably. So, I probably am going, well, I do end up, because they've become kind of the same at this point. So, let's start with the history of Lughnasadh and Lammas. So Lughnas, also known as Lammas, is the beginning of the harvest season, as I said, and it's the first of the 3 autumn celebrations in the Wheel of the Year. And the second one is Mabon, and the third is Samhain, or Halloween, as we more commonly know it as. Lughnasadh originated as an ancient Irish harvest festival that was held on the midpoint between the summer solstice and the autumn equinox. It's one of the 4 Celtic fire festivals and was said to be celebrated from sunset to sunset. So the night before until the night of. And some people prefer to celebrate on the exact cross-quarter date, which is August 7th this year. But it's more traditionally celebrated nowadays from the sunset of July 31st until the sunset of August 1st. And because it celebrates the first fruits and grains of the season, it also celebrates the earth's abundance. It's a time to honor nature, the sun, and to show gratitude for all of life's blessings and to acknowledge the passing of time. It marks the peak of summer, but it's also the start to the transition of autumn. Nature's already beginning to take the small steps to prepare for the darker half of the year, and this holiday offers the opportunity to become aware of the bounty, the abundance, and the harvest of the season, and to give thanks for it. In ancient times, this holiday would have signaled the need to prepare for the harvest season before the darkness arrived, and it's the time when they would transition from preparation to action. The modern Irish way to pronounce Lughnasadh is Lughnasadh, and the classical pronunciation is more like Lughnasadh, where the g is pronounced like give, and the d at the end is more like a th, like that. So Lughnasadh. And that's because Lughnasadh, I'm just going to say Lughnasadh because it's easier for me. But it gets its name from the Irish Celtic god Lugh, who was their god for the sun, harvest, and craftsmanship. And Lughnasadh actually translates as the marriage of Lugh because it was said that this day celebrates the wedding of Lugh to the earth goddess. This wedding was believed to ripen the crops. The Lammas, like I said, they are interchangeable basically, but Lammas as its own celebration also marks the beginning of the harvest period and is a time to be grateful for the abundance of Mother Earth and God. And it comes from the Old English or Saxon word hlaufmyces. I don't know if that's actually how you pronounce it. I am not Old English or Saxon. I might be Saxon, but I don't speak the language. So that translates to loaf mass or feast of loaves. So eating bread, basically. Lammas and Lughnasadh is sometimes used in place of Lughnasadh, like I've mentioned already. And the church transformed it into the Feast of First Fruits, where people from the villages would take the first loaves of bread to loaf mass or to the church to be blessed. And after the loaf was blessed, the farmers broke it into 4 pieces and placed the pieces in the 4 corners of their barn to protect the newly harvested grain. This holiday is a reminder that the quality of life is about to change. It's a time when people would have tasted the first ripe fruits and grains of the season, and in turn, the results of their hard work and dedication up until this point of the year. But it's not the end. It's not when they would have been assessing the outcome or judging how successful they were for the year, since there are still a couple more months until the harvest season's over. However, it is when they would finally have something tangible to symbolize the dedication that they've had this whole year. So, how did they celebrate Lughnasadh and Lammas in the past? So Lughnasadh was widely celebrated in ancient communities in Ireland, Scotland, the Isle of Man, and Slavic countries called Majovi Spas, something like that. Our agrarian ancestors would have celebrated the start of the harvest season and the first harvest. They would have honored the abundance of the earth and given thanks for the many blessings and offerings of a bountiful future harvest as well. And ancient communities marked the first harvest of the season by gathering the first grains and doing various rituals and customs with the grain, especially baking bread from it. And this tradition, as I said, was adopted by the church, and the bread would be brought to the church to be blessed by the clergy on Loaf Mass Day or Lammas. The blessed loaf would be used as a charm, placing 4 pieces in the 4 corners of the home or the barn for protection of the home or to protect the harvest in the barn. It was also customary to have a feast to feed the workers in the field with the freshly baked bread, and they would also use the first grain to make beer. There would have also been a celebration with a ritual cutting of the grain, and afterwards they would carry a grain offering to a deity on a high place and bury it. Lughnasadh, not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, were special oat cakes or bread that were eaten in the Scottish Highland for llamas, and that word Lughnasadh or Lughnasadh comes from the Scottish word for lammas tide. So that's just another interpretation of the same thing. Bilberries were a natural or a wild crop. Is that a wild crop? Not sure. Is it, can you have a wild crop? I don't know. Bilberries were gathered at Lughnasadh, and people would climb hills and mountains to find them, and then they would either eat them on the spot where they found them, or they would collect them to take home to make pies and wine with. And John Barleycorn is a symbol of the crops that are ready for harvest. He's a similar legend to the Green Man who I discussed at Beltane, and the legend is that he laid with the lady in the woods at Beltane, and now he's become an old man that's changed from green to gold, and he stands bent over and bearded with his crooked cane, knowing that his time has come to sacrifice himself to feed the people. So last year when I did the Lughnasadh episode, we had already um, doubled our corn. Which is basically that they cut it in half, and then that's how they dry it before they are ready to harvest the corn. And so they they cut it in half, and then it's bent over for about a month before it's ready to be harvested. So I think that's where the John Barleycorn symbol of him being a going from green to gold and then standing bent over and bearded, because if you can see, they've got their little hairs. So if he's bent over and bearded, you get it, hopefully. A tradition with corn was to make corn dollies that were believed to bring abundance and protection. It was believed that the fields were homes to the spirit of the corn mother, also known as the corn maiden or the corn spirit. And once the fields were harvested, it was believed that the spirit was left homeless. And so they would use the last sheaves of the grain and make corn dollies to embody that spirit until the next year, to ensure that the next harvest would be a good one, to bring abundance to their homes, and to protect the home and the field. They were also said to bring health and general prosperity to the farmers as well. So some people would place the dollies at the table during their harvest feasts, like in their centerpiece, along with their loaf of bread and such. Or they would tie her to the entryway to the field to protect it until the next year, or the doll would be kept close to the entry of the home, and then they would burn it the following year when the harvest starts. I've been thinking about making a corn dolly. We'll see if I get to it. Maybe I'll collect some and then I can take it, and that'll be my evening project. To make a corn dolly, you can use either corn or wheat, and you can take corn or wheat stems with the spikes and tie them together with the spikes up to make a body. Then you take more stems and tie them to the body to make arms. And it depends on how creative you are with the rest of the doll. I've seen people put different like fabric and stuff depending on your beliefs. Like that stuff could have meaning as well, and protection kind of stuff. I'm not like well versed on all of that, but I know that people do it. Lughnasadh eventually evolved into more of a lively festival that was akin to ancient Olympic Games, with sporting contests, music, storytelling, feasts, matchmaking, horse riding, trading, law proclamations, and trial marriages, which I will get into in just a little bit. And in medieval times, they celebrated with also events involving games and contests at the end of the haying season and when the sheep were brought in. And the Puck Fair, which is celebrated in Killorglin, County Kerry, in Ireland, I believe. I don't know why I didn't put that in my notes. That festival has been celebrated since the 16th century. And that festival is a 3-day ancient Lughnasadh festival held each year in early August. And they celebrate by crowning a wild goat, a king, and a local girl is crowned queen. And it also includes traditional music and dancing, a parade, arts and crafts workshops, a horse and cattle fair, and a market. Now, although Lughnasadh is considered one of the 4 fire festivals of the Wheel of the Year, bonfires were not traditionally a central feature of this festival, as much as it is in the other festivals that we've discussed, since this time of the year is typically very warm. But like many of these Wheel of the Year festivals, there's, of course, a fairy folklore tradition that says that you must leave an offering for the fairies or your corn would not ripen and the cows wouldn't produce milk. So people would traditionally leave offerings of freshly baked bread, wine, or beer, along with fruit for the fairies during Lughnasadh to make sure that their crops ripened and the cows produced milk for them. And another ancient custom was to visit holy wells to pray for health while walking sunwise around the well. And then they would leave offerings like coins and strips of cloth or rags at the well. Ritual crop circles were also created during Lughnasadh in the fields as a place for rituals to be held or sacrifices to be made. And in Ireland, they had trial marriages that were like a marriage for a year ritual, and these took place during Lughnasadh. This ritual was believed to aid Mother Earth in fertility as well as honor the gods. In the main square of the village, they would have a market, and young men and women would form two lines as their parents went around talking to and eventually picking a partner for their children. Once the match was made, the young couple would hold hands or do a hand fasting ritual to signify the binding of their 1 year marriage. And if for whatever reason their marriage didn't work out, they would have to wait for the following year's Lughnasadh market where they could end their marriage. And they would do that by standing back to back and walking in different directions. And after that, they would be free to choose a new partner to be married to for another year. If the marriage did work out, they could also have the option to make it permanent after that. And hand fasting is when a man and a woman would have their hands loosely tied together. And the word hand fasting comes from the Anglo-Saxon word hodafasting or hodafastung, which means shaking hands to seal a contract. This is also where we get the phrase tying the knot for a marriage. It was also believed to be a very good sign to conceive a baby during Lughnasadh, and those babies that were conceived during the first week of August were believed to be born strong, healthy, and blessed by the gods. Even if the parents decided to break up after the trial marriage, a child born from this union was never thought to be a shame for a young mother. So, how are people celebrating Lughnasadh today? Many of today's rituals and celebrations focus more on the connection to nature, the gratitude for the earth's bounty, and the interconnectedness between humans, the land, and the cycles of nature, which is why I'm doing this podcast, basically. People do still bake breads and cakes to celebrate the grain harvest and with harvest rituals to give thanks to the earth for the harvest, even though many people aren't actually harvesting their own grains. Nowadays, many people do bake bread in remembrance or in reverence for their ancestors who harvested their own grains and bake their own breads as a matter of survival. There are some traditions that specify that the loaf must be created outdoors over a ritual fire or that it needs to be made with intention. The breads may be used as an offering to the ancestors or gods. There are many different traditions that people are now bringing back to life. Many people also celebrate with feasts that they prepare with their first garden fresh harvest or using fresh local seasonal produce and infusing that with fresh herbs as well. The herbs that are associated with Lammas or Lughnasadh include goldenrod, yarrow, vervain, meadowsweet, and mint. And these herbs can be used in meals, teas, or to decorate your home. They also use essential oils in a diffuser or to bless themselves or loved ones. By the 20th century, celebrations eventually evolved into fairs and festivals with food, drinks, dancing, music, arts, crafts, and storytelling. And some people still incorporate a hand fasting ritual into their marriages during this time of year, or they may use a hand fasting ritual as a symbolic celebration to mark the commitment made by the two people. In Ireland, There is a Celtic Reconstructionism that celebrates La Lughnasadh, and they celebrate this time as a time to give thanks to spirits and deities for the start of the harvest season. They also give offerings and say prayers to not harm the crops still ripening in the fields. And they also still honor the god Lugh, who they see as a deity of storms and lightning. And they believe that gentle rain on the day of Lughnasadh is seen as his presence and a blessing. So I guess whatever's happening here, I need to feel like if it rains, I'm gonna be blessed. Many people nowadays also decorate their homes for Lughnasadh or Lammas, and they use candles, dried herbs, braids of onions, sunflowers. They decorate with the colors orange, yellow, and red, also maybe green and brown, so colors of the season. And they make the corn or wheat dollies, like I said, and they make animals made of dough. And they also put out crystals, and some of those crystals that are associated with Lughnasadh are carnelian, agate, citrine, jasper, peridot, and moonstone. And like the other Wheel of the Year festivals, there's a focus on showing gratitude to nature and for Lughnasadh. Many people like to show gratitude by giving something back to nature, and they might build something like a bug hotel in their garden, or plant seeds, or scatter grains for the birds, or leave an offering of dried herbs or flowers beneath a tree. And as they're giving these gifts back to nature, they're sure to do it with a positive intention and with gratitude in their hearts, and simply send out good thoughts and wishes into the world. So, how can we celebrate and incorporate these traditions today? So, in our current modern world, many people have become pretty disconnected from nature and her natural wisdom and cycles. That's why I'm focusing on these Wheel of the Year festivals, because they're an excellent reminder throughout the year to reconnect with the spiritual forces of nature, to tune into the cycles of change of nature and in ourselves, and to be reminded to give gratitude to the earth and for all of the many blessings that we receive, the love, the light, and the abundance in our lives. Lughnasadh is basically the start to the end of the summer and shifting into fall. The days have already started to grow shorter and the sun's starting to dim. This time of the year signals to start preparation for the darker months. On a personal note, this is a time to be present in your current life situation. Feel alive and grateful for everything you have right now and what has come to fruition for you so far this year. This is a time to take a moment to honor what you're reaping in your life right now and give thanks for those things, even if they haven't fully come into fruition just yet. Some ways that you can incorporate Lughnasadh celebrations into your life this year are to wear orange, yellow, red, green, or brown, or to decorate your house in those colors. Throw a Lughnasadh or Lammas party. You can invite some of your loved ones over to celebrate, offer gratitude for this year's first harvest, either use produce from your own garden if you have one, or pick up some local seasonal produce from local growers if that's available in your area. Or you can have a potluck and invite your guests to bring a seasonal dish to share. Of course, bake some bread, since that's the main focus of this holiday, and incorporate it into your party, or just enjoy eating it by yourself or with your family. Decorate your table with fresh flowers or candles and sheaves of wheat or corn, and string up some outdoor lighting to create an ambiance. This is the time to start getting hygge. If you don't know what hygge is, look it up, because this is the time to light candles, get snuggly, start retreating inside. But you're still able to go outside, but this is the time to start kind of like getting your nest ready for the darker times of the year and the cold that's coming. Since the god Lugh is associated with craftsmanship and art, this is a good time to start a new hobby that you've maybe been thinking about starting. This can be an art class, pottery class, or maybe learning how to play a new instrument, or picking up an instrument that you know how to play but you haven't picked up in a while. If you don't have classes available to you, there's always YouTube. Get out into nature. That's a simple way to celebrate Lughnasadh. This can help you become more aware of the growth and the change and the life that is all around you, and to tune into the changes that are undergoing right now. So go for a walk, find a shady spot to sit down, maybe meditate or journal. Maybe go to a river or lake or the ocean to go for a swim. Take some time to relax, reconnect with nature, grab your journal, and do some self reflection. Maybe ask yourself some questions. Look at where did you plant theoretical ideas or goals in the springtime, and maybe look at how they have come to fruition for you now, or if they haven't, what can you do to help with make them blossom into your life. um, Maybe look at what is growing into fruition right now and how you can take care of yourself to better support your projects. Like I said, you can bake some bread. You want to do this mindfully with intention while you're baking your bread, and then afterwards enjoy it and share it with your family and friends. So while you're mixing those ingredients together, you want to stir in your good vibes. You want to do it with a positive mind space, and yeah, you just want to infuse your bed with blessings of abundance and joy and love and health and vitality, just all of those good Lughnasadh vibes. And when you're preparing your garden to table meal, you can create crisp, colorful salads with fresh herbs and homegrown or local produce. You could also, instead of having the meal at your home, take it out when you go on your nature hike, have a picnic, invite your friends to go on the nature walk with you and have a picnic outdoors and enjoy your your meal with nature. You can also go berry picking or go to a pick your own orchard, whatever is in season in your area. Um, you can Google that to see what places are near you, or you can forage. But if you do forage, remember that there are bears. So I don't want anybody dying of bear attacks. So yeah, be bear aware. But yeah, you can forage for blackberries, huckleberries, raspberries, whatever is wild in your area if you know what to look for. Also, don't poison yourself by eating berries you don't know about. You can also pick up some fresh seasonal fruits like peaches, plums, nectarines, berries, whatever is fresh and local at your local store or your farmer's market, and make a fruit salad. Luna said is also a great time to go outside at nighttime. The weather's still warm. It's not too cold to go out at night, and yeah, find yourself a dark area. You might have to go outside of your city if you live in a big city. But yeah, get a good view of the night sky and just watch the stars and relax. You can also go for a camping trip. This is a great time to go camping because the weather is starting to change. It might be a little bit cooler where you're at. And so, yeah, it'd be a great time to just go out, connect to nature, have a magical night sleeping under the stars. You can also take this time to harvest seeds if you have your own garden. I know I have basil that I had meant to harvest like I said, at midsummer that I didn't even touch, and they are flowering. And I even found a cute little butterfly today visiting them. So, yeah, if you have plants that are flowering now, you can save those seeds so you can harvest them for the next season. If you have kids, this is a fun thing to do with them as well, to teach them about seeds and how you can harvest seeds from the plants that you have already. Because a seed is both the harvest of the current season as well as the potential for harvests for the future. You can also make a herbal sun tea, and like I said, there are herbs that are associated with Lughnasadh. You can also just use your favorite herbs to make tea. And because we still have sun right now, why not make a sun tea? So a sun tea is basically just fresh herbs, purified water, and sunshine. You just put your herbs in a glass pitcher with the water and you leave it outdoors for 4 to 6 hours, and you have magical sun tea. You can also take it a step further and make it a crystal elixir by adding crystals around your glass pitcher while it's brewing, if you're into crystals and that kind of stuff. So it's not only charged with solar forces, but also with crystalline energies. And then pour yourself a big glass over ice. Sweeten it with some maybe raw honey if you'd like, and enjoy. Some good herbs to make a sun tea are mint, lemon balm, yarrow, basil, chamomile, thyme, lavender, or ginger. But obviously, whatever you're into. But you probably want to use fresh herbs rather than the dried stuff. I think a fresh herb is going to do better for the sun tea, I would think. Some other herbs that are good for this time of the year are rosemary, thyme, basil, sage, mint, lavender, and marigold. So Lammas or Lughnasadh is like the perfect time for you to do something that you're afraid of doing. It's time when you were already in the process of doing something, but you haven't quite made it to the final step yet. And this is the period, this first week of August, for you to pull yourself together and finally make the move that you've maybe been afraid to do, or you're just feeling like, I just can't do it. I know I have things that I am trying to push myself to do, and I am really feeling the energy telling me it's time to make my moves. I need to just do it. I need to just hold my nose and jump in. So you might also be feeling that. And then when Mabon comes, we will be assessing the results of these actions. You also don't want to forget to show gratitude to the universe, to Mother Earth, to God, whoever is your deity of choice. It's important to maintain that energy exchange with at least some kind of gratitude practice. And you don't want to forget to also show gratitude towards the other people in your life. So don't forget to say thank you to people. And take time to perform a gratitude ritual, even if it's just lighting a candle and writing down what you're grateful for. You can reflect on the growth and the achievements of your past months. A gratitude ritual for Lammas that I did find for expressing your thanks for the gifts the natural world and the universe has given you is to find a quiet place to sit or lie comfortably, relax, take a deep breath, and feel the tension leave from your body. So basically, get into a meditative state. And then reflect on your personal harvests of the year that have gone by. Consider your blessings, the things you've achieved, and the people who've helped you on the journey. that you've come to so far. And then move on to thinking about the challenges you faced, the personal growth that you've experienced, and the lessons that you have learned this year. And then when you're ready, open your eyes and write down in your journal or on a piece of paper those things that you're grateful for. And then leave this as a written record in some place that you're going to read later, and then add to it every morning after you wake up or just before you go to sleep at night. And with being grateful for what you have, you want to be sure to share the abundances that you have received. So Lughnasadh is a great time to share your abundances with others. You can donate to a food bank, or maybe share homemade goods with your neighbors, or host a community gathering, give to people on the streets. Whatever you're feeling called to do is what you need to do. Acts of generosity honor the spirit of the harvest. You want to be like the earth. She's giving to us, so we need to give to others. So now summer is full peak. We do want to honor and notice that this is a time when the forces are changing in the earth. Growth is happening, but things are starting to slow down. The days are no longer long, they're starting to shorten. This is the hidden entrance to the fall season, and Mother Nature is going to be going to sleep. Things are going to get darker, it's going to get colder, and the cycle continues on. But yet, we're taking this time with Lughnasadh to celebrate the summer months, the summer weather, to celebrate the abundance that's come along with this, the life, the light, and we're honoring Mother Nature as a whole right now. This is a beautiful opportunity to be grateful, to embrace life, and to continuously choose to boldly move forward in acceptance of the present season and with an openness towards the new with open hearts. So that wraps it up for this episode. I will be back in September to celebrate Mabon, the second of the 3 harvest festivals. If you have enjoyed this episode and you want to hear more, please like and subscribe, maybe even leave a review. Do you celebrate any of these Lughnasadh or Lammas traditions? Or do you plan on adding any of these traditions into your celebrations this year? I would love to hear your celebratory stories. You can email me at letscelebratepodcast@gmail.com, or on Instagram at letscelebratepodcast, or on YouTube at youtube.com/@letscelebratepodcast. All of my references, as always, are in the show notes if you're interested in reading more about Lughnasadh and Lammas traditions. Thanks for listening and joining me on this adventure. Have fun celebrating, and I hope you've learned something new today. Bye!